Topic of discussion: understanding globalization and its alternative perspective, especially the cultural dimension. As we know that globalization becomes the modern buzzword right from 1980s, and it originates from the UK and passes through the USA and then spread throughout the globe. Right from 1900, 1800, we know that after the introduction of the gold standard, the globalization becomes more popular. But it has a long root. If we go back to 130 BC, when the Silk Route was exist, then link the India and China and make the route through the Southeast Asia, Africa, Europe, and that is the success and glorious story of India for the globalization. And at that time, India and China alone that contributed near about 34% of the global GDP. And India's that time becomes the glorious period or golden era of the economic history of India. Now we consider the modern globalization. In this phase, the free flow of capital, resources and labor from one country to others that makes the globe free, and that free flow has some sort of advantage and at the same time some sort of disadvantage also, because the peoples are getting the best quality of product with a lesser price or competitive price. The quality improvement and the hunting for the talent throughout the globe, that is very, very important in this aspect. Now, what is the bad impact of globalization? That is a very important thing. The negative impact that when we consider this period of globalization, the concentration of the wealth throughout the globe that has been made. But at the same time, first of all, the disparity minimized and then it has widened. That is one aspect. The other aspect, the sum of the African and the American and Latin American countries, they are the deprived in this region. Even the erstwhile just communist bloc, they are also deprived. But some of the gainers are, the needless to say, the advanced countries, they are the highly gainer, and emerging countries, their difference, or you can say in terms of the Lodinch curve, they are very far away from the standard path of income and the population distribution. If I consider the case of the Kenya, they have down from 22nd to 12th percentile. If we consider the Nigerian, their position dipped from 16 to 13 percentile in the global income distribution ladder. Now, you have to consider the gainers and the losers of globalization. Top 1% people, they are the highest gainer from this globalization aspect. If we consider their income just jumped near about 60% and their per capita income increased near about $23,000 when the median income is just $400. But if we say this stabilization come first, then this disparity is lesser in the developed country, but it is wider in developing and the emerging countries. This is the complete dimension of the globe. If we consider this aspect, then we have to consider the new aspect, which is called the deglobalization. Deglobalization is good because it allows the self-sufficiency or self-reliance of a country. Then localization, local economics, and the emergence of the people of that country is very, very important in this aspect. But we have to consider the liberal internationalism that we have found some sort of aspect Jinping of the China, Vladimir Putin of the Russia, and at the same time some of the Turkeys, Hungarian and other countries, they are also getting some sort of, even the Brazil become the most powerful nation in this dimension. Then India, China, Brazil, South Africa and Mexico, they are also the gainer in this dimension. Then Adam Sposs, he is the president of the Pearson Institute of International Economics. He just remind us the world has become just make a block of different community or in terms of the economics. And at the same time, the less economic interconnections, the world will see the one sort of low sluggishness in the growth and less innovation in that part. But this is a new dimension. The Mark Carney, he was the former governor of the Bank of England and he was also the former governor of the Bank of Canada. He reminds us that just as globalization was deflationary, its underlying will be inflationary. Because if we see inflation to some extent is good, but too high inflation is not good. At the same time, the deflation squeezes the economy. Therefore, we have to be very much alert regarding this, and we have to spend near about 2% of the global GDP up to 2050 for the improvement of the energy infrastructure. Now, we are some sort of trade-off, growth, sluggishness and high inflation, that is the new crisis, and it makes an uncertainty during the period. And after the phase, when it is not been over, then we found the another aspect which is very important, that pandemic. The pandemic has changed the world or some sort of globalization, blockage of globalization that happened due to the COVID and cross-border, some sort of restrictions of the trade, people, labor force and capital also. Then up to when it is over, we see the last 10 months and above, there is a conflict between the Russia and the Ukraine. And that makes the problem, the oil crisis throughout the globe, that makes a problem of the food crisis and food inflation trigger up in this period. Then we consider the condition, the more critical in globe in the post-pandemic situation. The global growth rate that was 6% in 2021, that comes down to 3.2% in 22 and again fall to 2.7% in 2023. It is not only growth, at the same time the inflation that also mop up from 4.7% to 8.8% in comparison with 21 and 22, but it is again declined in 23, right from 6.5%, and again it would decline to 4.1% by 2024. Now the new concept, the new idea, vocal for local. This is also emerged a concept from our Swadeshi movement in 1905. And our Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, he again recoined this concept for the economic development or self-reliance of the country. And the meet of G20 that comprises G7, EU, and G12 countries. They are exploring the path how the global debt, inflation, and the economic growth slowdown can be changed. And the leadership explored the new path or open up the new path for breaking the solution for the prevailing challenges facing the world. That's a new dimension. Then we are coming to the another aspect, which is called the cultural globalization. The cultural globalization refers to the transmission of ideas, values, cultures, ethos, and other things, the literature, your film, drama, everything that is very pertinent in this juncture. Now we consider the McDonald's. The McDonald's dominates the food service throughout the globe. What's happened? In this dimension, not only the McDonald's spread the things throughout the globe, but at the same time we found that they are just creating the counter in Russia, in Moscow, the opposite the Lenin mausoleum, or it is called the Lenin's Trap before that, and it challenged, the McDonald's challenged the communist dynasty. That's another aspect. And also the Mexican restaurant that was also open in Montreal of Canada, and in every part of India you found the outlet of the KFC. Then this is in one spread dimension. What is the alternative perspective? The alternative world is possible. This is the new slogan, new buzzword. And mostly the European are consuming the culture that flows from the Asian countries, and mostly the East Asian countries. And the Japanese flooded the market since 1980s with his manga, anime, and the video games. But not only that, you see the South Korean, which is called the Korean wave, is taking the lion's share of the pop and the TV's market throughout the globe. The China, they are dominating the video game market. Now they are penetrating into the Hollywood industry. That is also very, very important thing. But India's culture, India's diversity in music, art, dance, drama, language, cuisine, customs, philosophy, and culture, that's widespread and widely accepted throughout the globe. The Indian film is very much popular in Russia. India's film is very much popular in Pakistan and China. That is then one aspect. Then India baggages its culture industries it becomes a very new war or instrument, a soft instrument to conquer the globe. And the UNESCO has recently given the tag of cultural intangible cultural heritage tag of Kolkata's Durga Puja. It attached near about 40,000 crores of business and attachment of or employability of more than 3 lakhs of people within a short span of time. Therefore, this is the study made by the Center for Monitoring Indian Economy. Therefore, it is not only the Durga Puja. You got the cultural heritage tag of Durga Puja, and what I'm telling you, the attachment of the economy and the employment. Secondly, the Ratha Yatra of the ISKCON, it becomes more popular throughout the globe. And it is on Moscow, on Washington, in Karachi, Dhaka, everywhere. They are running the Ratha in that particular festival. And involvement of lakhs and crores of people. And it is not the involvement, they become the cultural ambassador of India. And when our Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited any country, he used to give one gift, the Bhagavad Gita, written by or that translated by Prabhupada of ISKCON. You know that after the First World War, the world is facing some sort of problem, and the globe also facing the problem what originates from the USA in 1929, which is called the Great Depression. After that, even after globalization, in 2008, the US was the epicenter of the global crisis. And even the peoples are thinking in 2023, the US again facing the problem with the big headwinds from the struggling interest rate and the high inflation, as the study made economist of the Bloomberg. Therefore, the globalization is not the only panacea for the economic illness of the country like the USA and others. And the China is taking the new liberalization path, that also facing the problem. The Chinese economy also dripping, and India economy is emerging and the fastest growing economy of the world. Now I am telling you, just 350 years before the independence, the India's economic growth rate was mere 0.25%. But now it is one of the fastest growing economy of the world. It varies from 6 to 9%. And nevertheless, we have so many problems. The India's population near about 17.7% of the world population. But our economic share or GDP share of the global GDP is just mere 3%. One German's earning is equal to the 17 Indians' earnings. One Japanese earnings is equal to the 11 Indians' earnings. Therefore, we have to go a long path. But how is it possible? Vocal for local and local to global. With this slogan, we are going to market our products, because in the ancient trade, when India was very good contributor in the global economy, 1700 and before, at that time, some of the spices, crafts, muslins, that are very well accepted through globe. Not only that, there are some sort of transmission of the cultural and the spiritual things. It originates from India and spread across the Asian countries. Therefore, the new concept of cultural transmission from India, like yoga, one of the main thing, and international, it is accepted that 21st of June be considered as International Yoga Day. And throughout the globe, people are doing yoga for wellness and the good health. Now UNESCO has given the tag of many things, like the ancient university of Nalanda. You know the Takshashila, Nalanda, in Takshashila, it's parts of Pakistan now. The Nalanda, it was built up before Cambridge and Oxford. It demolished 3 times. In spite of that, its cultural heritage or the Heritage University of India. With that, we are proud for that. Secondly, the city like Prayagraj, Allahabad, it was the heritage city of India. Then we have identified, UNESCO had identified the 40 sites of India, irrespective of the heritage site. You know, it may be the Hindu temple, it may be the monasteries, caves, rock cuts. We can say you some of the temples are Meenakshi temple of the south. It's very popular. You know, some sort of pilgrims, the huge pilgrims are coming across, you know, in Vishwanath temple of Benares, and thus Buddha Gaya of monasteries, caves and rock cuts of the Ajanta and the Ellora. We discovered the local people with the local lips, they are making the paintings. The peoples are simply astonished, and this cultural transmission makes the country, because when West are providing the material values, we are providing the spiritual values. The admixture of the material and the spiritual, that is the need of the hour. And that's why the old concept of globalization with its new coinage cannot succeed, because they stress much on materiality, less on spirituality. There must be a balance between the two. And without that, this is not possible. The extreme consumerism just grabs the world, and that's why the crisis emerging day by day. But it is true, the inequality, it is not in USA, not in China or in elsewhere. India also, as the study by Oxfam study, the wealth become concentrated towards the rich people. But rich, it is a bad concept. The rich are only through malpractice and some sort of things they become rich. It cannot be. But the government play a pivotal role in this aspect to make the balance and just impose the taxes, both the direct and indirect tax, and deployment of the money for the purpose of the economic development and the development of others. And the curriculum, you know, the NEP that are being introduced from 2023, it is the Indian heritage with the modern technology, modern culture, but it on the Indian just concept. You know, the Japan ones, they are just welcoming the Western culture, but they don't forget the Japanese culture, and they make the movement throughout the country and invite the Western technology, and it grabs on Japanese culture. But what's happened in India? The India forget its culture and only welcoming the Western culture and some sort of mixture of the technology. But we have to have just recollect, rethink and rebuild our culture. World economy is divided into 3 blocks. One is advanced countries, another is called emerging or developing countries, and others are underdeveloped countries. India in a position of the developing or emerging country block. You know, the developed country, the G7 country, the others G12 countries, and the European Union. Every country, they are facing the problem in the phase of globalization. But what's happened actually? The India, with its economic power, not only try to just mitigate the gap between the countries. We have a very good relation with Russia, but now we are not a bad relation with USA. And that's why when any problem globally arises, the India becomes the monitor of that problem. They try to solve, and everyone comes to India for resolving that. It is economically true. At the same time, the European Union, they are also facing problem. Throughout the globe, near about 53 countries, they are facing the economic crisis, like the path of, which is called the path of Sri Lanka. Previously, that problem was facing by Greece, and that's why the Brexit, that concept arises. Now, not to capture or exploit others, and in this situation, the Russia, they are giving or offering oil to India with $48 per barrel instead of the offering of the $60 of the OPEC country. Therefore, the India's these maneuvering, or somehow you can say the adjustment with the global economy, global leaders, that is a very new things. Only the economic power, you cannot capture the globe. You have to have some sort of dialogue, and in case of the pollution control, that mechanism India is giving the prescription, and that was accepted by the World Forum. Therefore, the corruption throughout the globe, that's the problem, that has to be neutralized. The corruption, that has to be neutralized. Pollution has to be neutralized. Inflation has to be stabilized, but not the deflation. And the global debt, some sort of crisis where China is making for Pakistan and Sri Lanka, India is not doing so. Therefore, the new dimension of Bosuvaida Kutumbakam, the prevailing or thinking the globe is one and only one, and we are the part and parcel, the development of country not at the cost of others, but the cooperation, coexistence of all countries, that will the ultimate solution, and that is the alternative solution of the globalization, an alternative perspective. And at that point of view, the cultural dimension becomes more popular, including the dialogue within the country.